Journaling is the science of putting your thoughts down on a piece of paper. This is my journal. It's a book in which I write my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. When I was 14 years old, I had an amazing friend who told me about a diary she used to keep. She was a very fascinating person, so each time we met, she would talk to me about it. There was one time I asked her, "What do you write in this book?" So she explained to me what she wrote. She wrote about her crushes, who had a crush on her, and which celebrity she thought would marry her. I found that very fascinating. I used to ask myself, how is my friend so articulate? How is she able to put her thoughts down on a piece of paper like this? I went on to ask her, "Does your journal come with a lock?" And she said yes. So she showed me the lock and the key. I looked at them, and they were so small, they could barely fit in my hand. For me, I wondered, what if my mom, older sister, or an aunt stumbled across the book and knew who I have a crush on? The thought of that killed me. So I told her, I'll think about it, maybe some other time. But the beauty about it was that this thought remained in the back of my mind, that there was a thing called a journal, which I could turn to in times of trouble. There was a book called a journal, which I could use to express myself. There are many people in our communities who go through different pressure, stress, anxiety, and depression. These people have got nowhere to turn to, but a journal is an alternative option for them to express themselves. In my first year at university, I remember failing my exams. Out of the 7 courses I was taking, I only passed 4. So that meant going on part-time. The scary thought about it was there were some people who I had been advising how to pass an exam at university. So they were coming after me and coming to join our class. And so I was so embarrassed. So these guys will join me, and now they will know that I'm not as good as they thought. I thought I was bulletproof because I had never failed an exam previously in my life. So I started to wonder, why would I fail now? Why has this happened to me? So I turned to my journal and began to write my thoughts down, initially feeling like a victim. This shouldn't have happened to me. I don't deserve to be here. I don't even like my new class. As time went on, I began to realize that there were actually brilliant people in my new class. Some were funny, some were amazing, and some were very intelligent. So my journal now turned to start writing things like, I love my new class. Oh, they are very exciting people. Thank God I found a new class. And so it became easier for me to deal with my failure. This brings me on to some of the benefits of journaling. One of the first ones is that it helps you deal with depression. Statistics show that 77% of the youths aged between 14 and 25 are battling with some form of depression, but it's there even in adulthood. There was one time I met an amazing lady. She was so beautiful, and I thought in my head, this should be the person I date. As time went on, it did happen. We started dating, and I was very happy. I used to look at her and think, wow, this is everything I ever dreamed of. And the relationship was so good, I never thought it would end. Each time when we met, we were very happy and laughing. But as I grew older, I began to realize that my goals, dreams, and aspirations were changing. And maybe she was not the one for me. But I was so scared to bring it up, I just thought, well, when the time comes, we'll deal with it. And so time went on. I remember one day being at a party with her, and we were having so much fun, as usual. And so she bent down and told me, this is not working. At the time, she had a faulty phone, so I thought she meant her phone. So I bent down and said, no, don't worry, I'll look at it afterwards. So she said, no, not the phone. This is not working. So it clicked to me to say, oh, I think she means the relationship. But in the heat of the moment, I decided to say, okay, when one door closes, another one opens. Don't worry, it's better to go our separate ways than to keep fighting about something. But what I didn't think about was the impact of that decision. No more late night calls, no more early morning texts, no more midday calls to ask how I was doing. So it hit me, is this how it's going to be going forward? So I wondered. Sometimes it would be hard for me to wake up in the morning, and sometimes in the night I had barely any sleep. I knew that this wasn't going to work because I was too busy to go into a depression, which clearly was coming. So again, I turned to my journal and started writing down my thoughts. I was actually angry at her. How could she do this to me? I'm such a nice guy. I don't deserve to be treated like this. So as time went on, I actually realized why it never worked. And so my thoughts turned from complaining to saying, oh, thank God it never worked. Ooh, it would never have worked. I'm so glad that was the outcome. And so from then I realized that the journaling helped me overcome the depression or the depressive state I had found myself in. Another one of the benefits of journaling is that it helps the creative center of your mind open up. The mind has two sides. One is the left and another is the right. The left side is the side which we use to analyze things. The lawyers, the doctors, the bankers, that's the side we use. But then there's the right side which the poets, the artists, and people who are very creative use. So by journaling, it allows the left side of the brain to work so that you free the right side and your creative abilities and talents tend to come out. So I think from that statistic, it's safe to say that people who journal are very creative. Another one of the benefits of journaling is that it can help you deal with a difficult relationship. There was one time I found myself at school in a room which was supposed to house 2 people, and we ended up being 7. So there was one bed space here and another one there, 1 for 2, 1 for 2. And then it ended up being that the corridor in the middle was where the other 3 were. We were so cramped and there was no space. It wasn't working, but we were all scared to bring the topic up. So sometimes I would ask my friends, guys, is this working? But they would say, Ish, I can't bring that up. Look, where will they go? They are stranded. And I knew in my heart that this wasn't going to work. So there was one day I got up in the middle of the night in a hurry to go to the toilet. But since there were people in the middle, I found myself stepping on them and rushed to the toilet. So in the morning, someone brought it up, who's that guy who stepped on us in the night? And I was afraid to tell them it was me because I knew what would happen. But for me, that was a realization that this wasn't going to work. So I started to write it in my journal how I wanted things to turn out, how the difficult conversation was going to go on, how I was going to speak to them and ask them. I actually had a feeling they were going to ask me questions like, where will we go? So, can't you see we don't have money? Which room will we move to if this happens? And sure enough, those conversations came up. When they asked me those questions, I actually had answers because I had already journaled it. I was ready and I wasn't afraid. So for me, it was just like reliving an old conversation. Another one of the benefits of journaling is that it helps you create goals for your life. I know everyone has goals and aspirations for the future, and it's safe to put them down in your journal. Imagine walking up to your neighbor and saying, I want to be the next Dangote. They would probably think you're crazy. What is this guy thinking? But in your journal, it's safe to put down such crazy thoughts. What do you want for your life? What do you expect out of this life? Another one of the benefits of journaling is it can help us deal with anxiety. There are many people who go through anxiety issues and have got many problems. But when you journal and put your thoughts on a piece of paper, it helps you deal with them. Maybe one of you in the audience is interested in writing your autobiography in the future. Journaling helps you keep a record of your life, the events, and how they made you feel. Imagine trying to write about an event 20 years ago, today. You would probably put in false numbers, false names, false statistics. But by journaling, you can relive the experience. The reason why I love journaling is because my journal is my safe space. In my journal, I can be myself. In my journal, I don't have to pretend. There are sometimes people ask us, how are you feeling? And you say, fine, when you're having the worst day of your life. There are sometimes when people ask you, how are things going? And you say, oh, they're going okay, when actually they are not. In your journal, you don't have to lie. You can be honest. I don't feel happy right now. I don't feel like I'm doing as well as I should. For those of you who don't journal and maybe are considering it, I would like to encourage you to start it, because in your journal is a world of adventure that awaits you. In your journal is a world of lots of experiences that you will find. There's lots of power in putting your thoughts down on a piece of paper. And for those of you who probably journal but have let go of the habit, like a baby learning how to walk that falls flat on its face, the possibility of being able to walk on your own 2 feet and the freedom that comes with it is enough to make the baby rise up and try to walk again. But I know there are some millennials here who will say, but why should I write my thoughts on a piece of paper? Well, you can use your tablet, your computer, or any other device that you can use to write your thoughts down. It doesn't have to be a pen and a paper. I would like to leave you with the thoughts of a wise friend who always shares this quote with me. The greatest story you will ever tell is the story of your own life, and journaling can make it happen. Thank you very much.